Good morning and welcome to This Week. Breaking overnight, 2 daring raids. Under cover of darkness in hostile terrain, U.S. commandos target 2 of the world's most wanted terrorists, capturing 1 alive. We've got the latest details on the secret strikes. Plus,
this isn't some damn game.
6 days in, one man stands at the center of the showdown.
John Boehner cannot take yes for an answer.
John Boehner won't even let the bill get a yes or no vote.
This morning, the speaker responds. His first and only interview since the government shutdown. Is he ready to change course, put his speakership at risk, or hold firm and put America at risk of default? House Speaker John Boehner live. It's an ABC News exclusive. Plus, instant analysis and answers from our Powerhouse Roundtable. It's all right here this Sunday morning.
From ABC News, This Week with George Stephanopoulos starts now.
It is day 6 of the government shutdown, and House Speaker John Boehner is here live for his first interview. But we begin with that dramatic day in the war on terror. 2 raids, 2 targets, 1 for the bombings of the U.S. embassies and 1 for that deadly attack on the mall in Kenya. So many details still coming in, and U.S. officials, led by Secretary of State John Kerry, are claiming mission success.
The United States of America will never stop in its effort to hold those accountable who conduct acts of terror, and those members of Al-Qaeda and other terrorist organizations literally can run, but they can't hide.
ABC's Chief Global Affairs Correspondent Martha Raddatz has been tracking all the developments. And Martha, officials claiming success, but the target of that raid in Somalia, they can't confirm what happened to him.
They cannot confirm the target was dead. We don't know who the target was, but this was SEAL Team 6 going in on a raid in Somalia, south of Mogadishu. They came in from the Indian Ocean. They approached this seaside home of this target, an al-Shabaab target, opened fire, but they met much, much more resistance than they thought they would, so they had to withdraw. The SEALs withdrew. They didn't know who was in there at the time. They can't confirm it yet. They'll start talking to human intelligence.
And the hope was they were going to capture this target, but they clearly didn't do that. But meanwhile, in Libya, a clean capture.
A clean capture and an incredible raid right in downtown Tripoli. They went in, teams of CIA, FBI, and American troops went in and grabbed this man, Abu Anas al-Libi. He was considered the mastermind of the Kenya bombing, the U.S. Embassy bombing in Kenya. We have been looking for him for 15 years, $5 million reward on his
Meantime,
head.
he's going to be brought back to the United States?
He will be brought back to the United States to face trial. He has actually been indicted, but we believe he's on a Navy ship right now.
Okay, Martha Raddatz, thanks very much. Let's get more on this now from a man who's been on raids like this, former Navy SEAL Eric Greitens. Eric, thank you for joining us this morning. As I said, you've been on raids to capture al-Qaeda leaders. You actually commanded a special operations task force based in Kenya. Take us inside an operation like this.
So inside an operation like this, George, there are a couple of elements that you have to bring together. The first is really you have to get actionable intelligence. So when you're following a target like al-Libi, when you're looking at al-Shabaab, you've actually had intelligence analysts who've been watching them for years. As your intelligence picture develops, you'll begin to develop scenarios and contingency plans for actually executing an assault. In the days leading up to an assault like this, the assault teams would engage in relentless preparation, rehearsal after rehearsal, doing after-action reviews every time to learn as much as they can so that on the day of the operation, they're as prepared as possible for whatever contingencies they might face on the battlefield.
Prepared, but in this operation, as we've just learned, it certainly appears that they met a little more resistance than they expected, had to call in reinforcements.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that you know is that your intelligence picture, no matter how good it is, it's never going to be perfect. And in this case, it sounds like they met more resistance than they expected. It's a very complex, difficult situation fighting on the ground. And one of the reasons why you use a SEAL team in a situation like this is not just because of their tactical proficiency, but you're also looking to have an on-the-ground commander who can exercise their judgment about the best course of action. And in this case, in the al-Shabaab raid, they decided to pull back and re-engage another day.
And I would imagine that at some level, they have to be colored by the experience 20 years ago on Black Hawk Down when so many Americans lost their lives in that raid.
That's exactly right, George. 20 years ago, we had that raid in Mogadishu. And one of the things that goes into every raid, every planning, is you assess the risk. You're both assessing the risk that you're going to face on the battlefield, and the commander also wants to be clear about what risks they want to take. In this case, they wanted to make sure that there were not a lot of civilian casualties. They wanted to make sure that there was not collateral damage. They might not have been sure about the exact intelligence picture. And so in a situation like this, again, very complex, dynamic situation, you want that commander on the ground to make an assessment at the moment.
2 raids on the same day. U.S. officials call it a coincidence. You buy that?
I think one of the things that's happening in a situation like this is that it's perhaps coincidental that both of these targets were actionable. But what happens, George, is that you actually want to maintain the element of surprise. By executing both of these operations at the same time, they made sure that either target was not going to know that American forces were active, that they were responding at the time. So there's actually a lot of advantages to conducting the raids at the same time.
Eric Greitens, thanks very much.